happy popped off on this. Just like y'all popped off on the level 7 hype train, baby. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Just like a book job. They wanna know what I think when I was first. How that popped into my head. This is bonkers.
If you got any more love, now's the time. And I'll shut up about it for the rest of the... Yeah, I'll link it, Beast. I'll shut up the rest of the stream. Got a weather acorn or a water jug. If you hate cops like me, then give me some dabs.
Take that ass.
Yo, Catry Nuts, thank you for the 100 bits. Oh, thank you for grabbing that, Lord. Bigfoot drive stick with the gifted. Let's go.
Bigfoot driver stick gifted a tier 1 sub
All right, I'm gonna hit the pipe for you guys. Thank you for the love. We celebrating tonight. Let's go. Thank you, chat. Thank you. Okay. For our next video. If it loads.
Mike.
Okay, for our next video, we have Sam Cedar in the Majority Report bringing on a good friend of the show, Mike Frompa. Mike Frompa. Okay? Now listen, chat. I heard there was some controversy. I heard this was like contentious. I don't know what happened. I haven't watched it. Just so we all know, Mike and I disagree on some things. And that's okay. That doesn't affect my comradeship with him. I still consider him a friend of mine. You know what I mean? Like, we're super chill. This is never going to be a Mike hater stream. Period. And even if I disagree with some of his takes, that does not mean that I have any negative or ill will towards Mike from Frompa. Who is Mike Frompa? He's a Central Committee. Mike from PA, you might know him as. He's a good guy though. He's a great streamer. He's a good guy. I got no problems with Mike, even if we disagree, and we disagree on some stuff. Whenever we get together, we are yapping it up. You gotta pull us apart. We are yapping it up, but it's always towards the same direction, and I appreciate that, you know. But we don't agree. We disagree with each other, and it's fine, you know. It doesn't mean nothing. I'm saying this to dissuade and to blast any drama purgatory out of the chat, because this is not why I wanted to watch this video. And in low-key, I wanted to watch this video really bad, but I was low-key a little bit like hesitant too, because I was like, I don't want people to, even if I have disagreements with him, I don't want people to think I'm beefing with him or that there's any like, you know what I mean? And I want to just make it really clear. I like Mike. I think he's a good guy. You know what I mean?
From PA, from his show.
Is he always correct? Do I always agree with him? No. No. Why do you assume you disagree with him? I know I disagree with him on some things. I know that because Mike and I know each other in real life. We've talked to each other in real life. And also I'm like familiar with his work and the content he produces. And I agree with him on way, way, way more than we disagree with. You know, we agree with we agree with each other a lot more than we disagree with each other. But there are some things I disagree with him on.
Joe, the central
mainly the role that the Democratic Party will have in achieving socialism.
Pity. Mikey there?
Yeah, and also that part, the authoritarianism. I'm less of a authoritarian. I don't really, like, I'm an abolitionist. I don't think Mike would consider himself an abolitionist at all. And so our politics are a little different, you know? But I gotta go pee. I'm gonna start this and then I'll go pee, and then I'll be back. But I'll listen to it on my phone.
Going there.
I have my own scroll. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
there you go.
yeah. It's also because my streaming setup is under development, right? So it's sort of like how you very smoothly cover up the part of the room where the pile of equipment is.
Well done.
Yeah.
So I was saying before we went to the break that you called into this show. I feel like maybe it was the day after the election, and said in 2016 that you had been canvassing and running some canvassers, and you were getting reports back during the day that like 25% of the people that you had knocked doors on to get out the vote were actually Trump voters, which was consistent with sort of like other parts that I had been reading about with Clinton, and their whole operation was to sort of algorithmically determine, with the help of the Google folks, where the voters were, and it turned out it did not work. And so there was a lot of get out the vote wasted, and not just wasted, like redirected in the wrong place. What's your sense of this time around? Was that one of? I mean, I think there were.
Is he talking about third parties?
Like, half a dozen but fours with Clinton. Had she maybe done, been able to have volunteers go out there, more volunteers go out there, she might have won it. It's very, very close election, 40,000 votes over the course, or I should say 70,000 votes over the course of 3 states. Had she campaigned in Michigan and Wisconsin, maybe she would have won. Had the Comey letter not come out, maybe she would have won. I mean, there was a bunch of these things that could have impacted it. But didn't. What's your sense in terms of like Harris's loss?
Well, I have to say that I was one of the few.
Oh, they're talking about canvassing done by the Harris campaign and where they were choosing to do it. From my understanding of the election, Harris actually had a pretty good ground campaign. Like, both had people volunteering and like knocking doors, and was like out doing speeches like constantly in ways that Hillary wasn't. But it doesn't matter if you have a bunch of people knocking doors if they're not saying something that reaches the person behind the door when the door is answered. If they're not offering like good policy, if they can't like accurately describe the campaign and inspire hope, then it doesn't really matter. You know what I mean?
Few people who was saying that Donald Trump was going to win this.
Yeah, I know. Everybody, we've beaten this into the fucking ground. I'm glad we're finally moving past like election analysis, but yeah, basically the election analysis, the only election analysis that you should ever listen to is the policy of the Democratic Party was absolutely vapid. They tried to gaslight the American working class into believing that everything is just fine. When people know that shit's not just fine, and shit hasn't been just fine for a very long time. And so that kind of gaslighting compared to Donald Trump's like blaming it on immigrants, even if that is a lie, because of course immigrants are not controlling inflation and ruining the American economy. It's the rich that are doing that. But Donald Trump gave a story and an answer that the American people could believe, and Kamala Harris gave no story and told them that they were just fine and that everything is working great and that 4 more years of Biden is going to make their life better. And nobody believed that
Election and was going to win Pennsylvania for a while. And I think the main issue is that all of the trends that began really with Donald Trump have just continued. And the Democratic Party has kind of positioned itself in an electoral checkmate, because basically elections are about math. One of the first things you learn as an activist or a candidate is that you have to find your win number, which is 50% of the vote plus 1, right? What is your win number? What voters are you going to bring out and where so that you win your district or you win your, the state, etc. And the Democratic Party has kind of made these trades of we'll trade the Republicans 2 working class voters for 1 upper middle class voter. And unfortunately, they've run out of upper middle class white voters that they can win in the suburbs. In fact, the suburbs mostly fell off a little bit from 2020. But the trends with the working class, now it's spreading to other working class people outside of the white working class group are trending in that direction. And I think that's why it was so obvious to me. Maybe it's because I spent so much more time on the ground in places like, Northampton County that ended up flipping back to Trump. It was an Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump county. And like that is, and those counties, and because I've spoken to so many of those Pennsylvanians, former steel workers or their relatives from the Bethlehem steel plant that is still a ruin in Bethlehem 30 years later. It shouldn't be a surprise that the Democratic Party has continued to lose ground with those type of voters, and now it's spreading to,
And you were, that whole for every blue collar worker we lose in Pittsburgh, we will gain in the 2 in the Philly suburbs.
That did not end up happening.
Direct quote from Chuck Schumer in the run-up to that election in 2016. But my understanding is that for the most part, they did hit their win numbers. The problem is that Trump had higher win numbers. I mean,
that's actually a good point, Sam.
They, for the most part, they did hit their win numbers. They saw, an analysis that came out today, depressed voters in, depressed numbers in Philly, in Detroit, and in Milwaukee, which is really sort of like what was problematic with Clinton as well. Those voters did not come out. So yeah, it was a problem, without a doubt. And, but here we are now. I guess.
One of the things I want to say is I think the evidence was pretty clear she was in trouble, for the whole time. And I think one of the things that I want to urge people to do is have a little bit more, we need to have sign of a reckoning, especially in the lib left or left-wing media sphere, where a lot of people who came out with totally spurious claims about polling were kind of presented as oracles.
Dude, this guy has such
Your
a
stern mystery. Thank you.
boner for
But hello,
Edinger
welcome.
Bentham. I know for a fact he's talking about Edinger Bentham right here. Oh man, I don't care about Edinger Bentham. I think he's whatever. He's when I heard he was 22, I was like, okay, well, come on. I was like, yeah, all right. Well, I mean, he'll learn. He'll learn. He's a young guy. Whatever.
I
think he's talking about the dude with the keys or whatever. No. He's talking about Edinger Bentham.
For example, one thing that I saw was Atlas Intel, which is a polling firm that was the most accurate polling firm in 2020, was kind of accused almost as being a QAnon level pollster or fake pollster, and in 2024 they were also the most accurate pollster again. And that,
I think having random Zoomers taking poli-sci 301 classes on stream is a bad thing. I don't care. Why would I be upset about who Hassan has on his stream? I don't know. I have people on my stream who aren't experts all the time. Whatever.
really served us poorly, because this election, while it was decisive and that all the swing states went to Trump,
like Chevron. Exactly. I had Chevron on my screen, okay?
unwinnable. You know, and what we saw was that young people and people of color, their turnout was depressed. It wasn't just that people swung towards Trump. I would say like 1 in 10 people who voted for, who were, you know, that didn't show up, didn't show up or voted for Trump, swung to Trump. About 90% of the people that are missing are people that just didn't show up.
By the way, Chad, if you haven't seen my Chevron interview, you should really watch that. You should really watch it. It was an incredible like moment on the stream. I really like fucking handed it to them. I was quite a Giga Chad in that moment. Yeah.
They swung
Right.
to the couch.
Right. And so, but I mean, what difference would it have made in your mind if there was a pollster? I don't know who Atlas is, but and to be
Atlas
honest,
Intel. That's a pretty big.
I mean, to be honest, I don't.
Yes, yeah. Drop it in the Discord. It's better. 'Cause I don't think we'll watch it right now while we're in the middle of this, but that sounds like something I'll play for sure.
The 2016 election, we had somebody on the show from Princeton said 90. I can't say it.
99% chance of Hillary.
Whatever.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
so I don't really hold much stock in it. And I also really don't believe, and I think there was a time where it was the case, where polls would impact voter behavior. But I don't think that's the case anymore.
I agree.
And so what difference does it really make in that context? I mean, like, and I'm getting like I am saying that did you vote in Pennsylvania? Did you like say you weren't going to vote?
Oh no, I have a 100% voting record. I always vote.
Okay.
One thing that I would say is that I was staunchly opposed to Kamala Harris after her disastrous DNC speech. Full disclosure, for the first time in my life, I was like totally disillusioned. And I think one of those things is
What do you mean staunchly against?
I just thought that she was going to be a horrible person for the Democratic Party and the country, and that her defeat was inevitable because of her positions on Gaza, especially. You know, I have friends and family and that are of Middle Eastern descent, and you know, I always found it kind of odd that liberals would tell me to vote Kamala, but I won't tell an Arab person or a Muslim person to vote for her. And I don't want to get off on a tangent about Kamala Harris because she lost, and she lost for the reasons that I thought she might lose.
I'm just saying that. What do you think? I mean, you know, like I get that.
Fuck you, Kamala.
There, you know, pollsters who are wrong by, you know, a couple of points, but
the
in
pollsters
7
were
states-
right. The pollsters were right this election.
Well, okay, pollsters that are right or wrong may have influence, but it seems to me that like voting has even more influence.
Oh, I agree with that 100%.
What? What is he trying to say there?
I wish we had had a Democratic primary, you know, so that
Well-
I think that was the crisis.
Huh?
I think the crisis that we
But
saw
that
the
crisis
Democratic Party.
happened like a year and a half ago when Jill Biden and Hunter Biden basically said, you know, Dad, don't, you know, stay in, and that was it. I mean, that's how cloistered he was.
Yeah, I mean, like, one of the things that I think we could see early, like your question about why do the polls matter? Well, I think the polls actually told us quite a lot. Like, the evidence was pretty clear that young people and people of color, and I could pop this up on my screen.
Yeah, Marksy, that's where it feels like he's going. Like he's like, oh well, voting matters quite a lot. So if you're not voting, then it's your fault. And it's like, no, like what? You really have this? Like we're blaming voters on Majority Report right now for Kamala's loss? Really? Like, aren't you guys? You guys are supposed to be like smarter
Same
than
page.
the DNC, right? Why are you taking the DNC's exact like line? Why are you taking their exact line on this and blaming voters for this? That's pretty bad.
Screen real quick, just so people can see it.
I don't know if that's where it goes. I haven't seen this.
Poll that I did October 18th, it showed that 64% of black voters were very interested in the election, and only 49% of 18 to 34-year-old voters. And it was very, 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 very obvious that that was going to happen, and that's exactly what happened. You know, is that the young people of color?
But I'm curious. So how does one respond to that poll at that point that makes a difference? Like, what are your options are on the table at that point?
Well, October 18th is pretty late. I think.
Like, does Sam think that it's more effective to just tell your audience to plug their nose and vote for Kamala than it is to like accurately critique Kamala's perspective and say like I can't personally vote for this? That's kind of stupid. That's really stupid. Like what? We are critiquing the Democratic Party because we want them to win. You understand that, right? Like we don't want Trump to win, and that's why we were all saying the DNC needs to change its strategy. The DNC is adopting
excuse
a
me.
losing strategy. Like, I'm not even talking about like punish the DNC or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, if we're just talking about how he used his platform, to me, yeah, critiquing the Democratic Party is a whole different thing.
If she had come out and run a more bold campaign.
No, I'm not talking about what she had done. I mean, I think it's pretty clear that, you know, not only like the first order impact of her not breaking from Biden on Gaza, the second order impact that it depresses activists. And, you know, that was clear under, you know, when Biden was the candidate.
What a night.
I mean,
Go
I think there were
Eagles.
other things that they did wrong. Like they should have kept doing the weird thing because it was the only way to sort of like make it harder for the Republicans to define her positions and to make the. But I'm saying,
But like, why is it a good thing that it's hard for the Republicans to define her positions? She should have had very clearly defined positions and like defended them. Like, you can just have a very clear defined position. I want all Americans to have a health care. And then you defend them by saying currently 70,000 people a year die in America from lack of health care. We are undergoing, you know, 20 9/11s every year because of this government's inaction on healthcare. We need to solve that. 20 9/11s is really bad. We need to solve that.
us. Like us.
Oh, you
We
mean
see
the
that
commentators?
poll-
You mean
yeah,
commentators?
well, commentators or
Startling
listeners.
murmuration.
We see that poll October 12th. What's the best thing for us to do in that situation?
Get the fuck out in the streets and protest. And force Kamala Harris to change her policy. What the fuck? What?
Oh, man, gosh.
Also, like, why is that even relevant? Like, we have power? Like, we have power in this.
All things weather.
They're like pests, no? Darling? Or something this one. Oh, a mystery? Beautiful. Oh shit.
freeze. Welcome to Fox Weather's YouTube page.
In recent years, huge flocks of roosting birds have become a common sight in many cities, but nowhere do they reach the numbers seen in Rome. Here, they have become a super swarm that gets bigger year on year.
Rome?
10 million starlings flock together to create the most astonishing aerial display in nature.
Oh, amigo. Looks fake.
L'ho riprese! Non quando ne ripigliare!
These spectacular aerial displays are seen between October and February, when birds pour into Rome from all over Northern Europe.
Gee, right.
To create such perfect synchrony, it was once thought that the birds might use telepathic communication. But in reality, the birds react 13 times faster than any person. They turn in exact synchrony with their nearest neighbours, but the tiniest delay in their reflexes help create these mesmeric waves in the sky. Until recently, the spectacle could only be seen from the ground. Now it's possible to take cameras into the swarms and fly among them.
That's crazy.
This aerial ballet acts as a beacon to others still entering the city. Smaller parties join the bigger flocks, increasing their numbers. As they swirl in the sky, they collectively make decisions on where they should spend the night. After an hour of pirouetting, the birds dive downwards, having decided together where they will roost. Birds are drawn to cities because they are warmer than the surrounding countryside. Rome, with its balmy Mediterranean climate, is an especially popular destination. But the city pays a heavy price for hosting this incredible air show.
Oh,
Each night,
dude.
10 million birds produce 7 tons of excrement, playing havoc with the paintwork of cars. As the birds settled down for the night, there was a constant rain falling below. Slippery roads and pavements cause accidents too. It's a health and safety nightmare.
No way.
But the starlings don't have it all their own way. They may look like extras from a sci-fi B-movie, but these people really are wearing their work clothes. They are starling busters, hired to clear the streets of this urban menace. Their weapon of choice is a loudspeaker. It plays back a starling's alarm call, amplified 100 times.
What the fuck?
For these birds, there is simply nothing scarier. This roost of 100,000 starlings will have to up sticks and find somewhere else to roost. This bizarre experiment has been running for the last 12 years. It certainly moves the starlings, but Rome offers plenty of alternative accommodation,
The fuck?
and the number of winter visitors keeps rising.
Two sides. Let's just say it may help the boat avoid the iceberg by running to the left side.
No, Sam, not if the captain isn't turning, dude. Not if the captain isn't turning, bro. No, that will not help. If the captain is intent on driving into the fucking iceberg, then standing on one side of the boat is not going to make a difference.
And maybe more people do that. Maybe it does. Maybe it doesn't. But I don't know. It seems like you just felt like you were just going to yell iceberg.
Well, I mean, I did what I could, you know, to advocate for a platform that could win, and I try to use evidence-based arguments
once you
for it.
determine, like, all right, without that platform, once you determine she's not going to do it, and she's not going to change because of your Twitch stream or our Twitch stream, it's more likely, it seems to me, if you or I or people of our ilk have any influence at all, we might be able to get a couple of people to vote in one way or not. You know, like, I don't know, or at the very least, if there's any reason for us to even engage in this stuff, we might have more. You got to assume a couple. And
who are you doing the gun training with? It'll be with like Pink Pistols. Pink Pistols, which is like a LGBTQ, arm the gays, arm the queers organization.
And it feels like that to me is a more productive thing than, you know,
blame the voters, you know, blame the commentators and the voters for the campaign's inability
not